What's up guys, Sean here, and you're riding on board with me in the Ferrari 488 GT3 with AF Corse. This is the last round of the Italian GT Sprint Championship in Mugello in October this year. And this is the second race of the weekend. So as you can see, I'm starting right at the back of the grid in P42 because we had a problem during qualifying and we weren't able to complete a single lap. So I'm just trying to warm up the tires there and warm up the brakes to try and get an optimum start, and trying to keep close here because it's going to be the start of the race soon. So I'm going to try and get a good start and try and make up as many positions as possible. So now it's just a case of staying in two rows, staying as close as possible to the car in front to try and get a good start, and I'm just staring at the lights to see when they change from red to green. And we're off. The lights turn green, so I dart out to the outside. I make up quite a few positions here. I have to get off throttle briefly because I wasn't sure that those guys were going to give me enough space, but they do. So I'm already at this point past all the GT4s at the back of the grid, so now I'm just focused on the cup cars in front. Brake nice and late here, but also being a little bit careful because I'm not sure if these guys are going to turn in on me. So I managed to find some space through and managed to get up to P32. So I'm just trying to find an opening in this crazy traffic here. I have to jam on the brakes there briefly because this guy braked quite early for that corner. So in the end he stays to the inside here, so I go to the outside. I managed to pass him there on the brakes. I have a look around here, but this guy just doesn't see me and turns in on me there, so I have to back out of it. At this point I know that further down the grid maybe the level of driver isn't as high as further up in front like it normally is, so I'm just going to be careful. You can see this guy just almost pushes me off the track there, so just really aware that these guys are probably less experienced. Maybe some of them are gentleman drivers, so maybe some of them don't check their mirrors as well, so I'm just going to be careful here and make sure that I don't get taken out unnecessarily. So this guy stays to the inside there, so I go to the outside, which means I'm on the inside for the next corner. So I make the overtake, giving him enough room on the outside over there. So I'm up into P28. You can see the position counter there and the lap counter, which I leave at the bottom there as well. So you can see a cloud off in the distance, and that's because the car actually went off. I'm going to pause it here. Yeah, you can see a car hit the wall. And there's a lot of damage. He's not going anywhere, so I know that there's probably going to be a safety car at some point, so I'm just preparing for that. Nice and close to this guy in front of me. Get a good exit here, and this would have been a nice overtake. However, halfway down this straight you can actually see the yellow flag and the safety car sign. It's just on the right hand side here. So now we are under safety car conditions, no overtaking, and matching the speed of the safety car at the front of the queue so that the marshals can clear the debris safely. So I'm just going to speed it up here because it's a little bit boring being stuck behind the safety car. No overtaking, so yeah, as you can see, it's quite a long time behind the safety car, which isn't ideal for me because I've got to try and overtake as many cars as possible, so I need as many laps as possible. I keep the lap counter on 2, however, because I'm only counting the race laps that we do. However, in the race, the safety car laps are counted as race laps, but just for the purpose of this video, I'm only counting the race laps. Alright, so safety car is coming in, so the field is nice and bunched up, and I'm ready to get going again. So I'm nice and close here, preparing the exit so I can overtake after the finish line. You can see the safety car pulling off there to the right into the pit entrance. So now we are back racing, and there is the finish line just ahead. We cross it now, so now I'm free to overtake the car. So we are racing again. This guy leaves me lots of room on the inside, so I just dive down, another textbook overtake. You can see that there's still a little bit of oversteer there. Oh, I'm having to fight the car because the tires are still a little bit cold from being behind the safety car. Remember, this was October, so weather was pretty cold, so keeping temperature in the brakes and the tires was quite challenging. So I'm coming up now to some Cup cars and Ferrari Challenge cars, and they're fighting amongst themselves, so they're not going to give me the position very easily. So obviously it's a bit of a challenge trying to get past these guys while they're all sort of fighting amongst themselves, sort of like in Formula 1 when the leaders are lapping back markers who are all fighting amongst themselves. It's quite tricky. So this guy here, yeah, I think he hasn't seen me as well, so just got to be careful here. And the further up you get in the field, the higher the level of driver as well, so just bearing that in mind, they're getting harder to overtake as well. So I find an opportunity there, dive down the inside into the chicane, make up another position, sort of textbook as well really. And these challenge cars and these cup cars are actually quite hard to overtake, because even though I'm faster in the corners in the GT3, as you can see there, passing another guy on the inside, they're much faster on the straights because they have less downforce and actually more power because they have less restrictors as well with the balance of performance. So they are quite hard to overtake. So this guy runs wide there, so I think about having a look up the inside. I'm not sure if he's seen me, but he gives me enough space, so that leads me to believe that he has seen me. But as I said before, look how fast they are on the straights. I mean, I'm in the slipstream of this guy, and he's still pulling out, so the challenge cars are very, very hard to overtake. But nevertheless, I'm trying to plan my overtake in the corners, where I have more of a chance. This guy runs a little bit wide there, but he manages to sort of stay on the track. But I'm just trying to find a way past, but at the same time, obviously I don't want to risk a huge crash with a car that's not even in my class. So I'm just trying to be smart about this whole thing, trying to find a space, and yeah, he just moves over there. So I think about having a look at the inside, but decide against it, not close enough. So I realize that any braking zone after a sort of long straight is going to be difficult to pass this guy, because he has just so much more straight line speed than me. I'm getting nice and close here through the fast corners, because the GT3 has the advantage here with the downforce. It runs a little bit wide there into Arrabbiata 1, so I get nice and close. Even closer here through Arrabbiata 2. Get a good exit, so I'm like, okay, this is my chance. So I dive down the inside here like I have done many times before in other cars, but this guy just turns in on me, and we make contact. Fortunately, it was a light contact, so neither of us had any damage or any major damage, so I managed to get past. A little bit aggressive, but did what had to be done. So you can see that me pressing the radio there, complaining about this guy who just either didn't check his mirrors or just didn't want to let me pass. Even though I'm in a different class, doesn't really make sense, but there you go. But I managed to get past, and I'm now focused on the guys in front of me. Closing in gradually, and just trying to get the hammer down and close up. So as I said before, like, these guys are now harder to pass because the level of driver is getting higher. You can see that I just turned on the windscreen wiper for a second because the wind was making the windscreen wiper go to the middle of the screen, disrupting the visibility. So I just sort of turn it on just for a second, so then it goes back down into its original position. So I think this entire race I didn't have a single clear lap. So it's hard to sort of judge my real race pace, but the sectors were really fast compared to the leaders, so we definitely had a fast race car. Alright, closing in on these guys in front with a challenge car in front of me, and I believe it's a GT3 car in front of them. So just looking for the right moment to make the overtake. Getting nice and close here through the faster corners, just like the lap before. This guy misses the apex there, so I decided to go for it. Take the move. Nice and clean. And now I'm catching up to these guys in front. So some of you may be wondering why you might have seen the position counter change without me actually overtaking anyone on track, and that's because of people either crashing out, retiring into the pits that you see sort of off camera, like for example the guy that went into the wall in the first lap. So that's just me making up a couple of other positions. So I also aligned this video with the live race replay, and I could see my position there as well. So it's basically based on the official live race replay. So it is correct, and as you'll see by the end of the video, I do show a short clip of me in my final position before handing the car over in the pit lane to the other driver. Okay, so I'm nice and close now behind this. It's another Ferrari GT3. I think about going down the inside here. The guy makes a mistake, so he runs a little bit wide, so I dive down the inside here, capitalize on that, and make up another position. So I'm nice and close on this guy as well. Closing up on the corners as you would expect with a GT3 car. I think about having a look down the inside here, but I'm not sure if he's seen me. So I just end up waiting a couple more corners and manage to do the cutback and overtake him into Casanova here. I do go down to third gear and then short shift to fourth, just to make the overtake a little bit easier. Up into position 16 now in only 6 racing laps, so a very, very eventful race indeed. Pushing hard now, trying to maximize every lap, every corner, every sector. Try and catch up with these guys as quickly as possible. This guy running a little bit wide here, maybe because he's seen my nose in his mirrors. So I pull up alongside because I get a better drive, but you can see he just pulls out again. These cup cars are also very, very fast in a straight line, so I have to get behind the slipstream. He starts indicating, which I'm not quite sure what it means, but anyways, he brakes early here, so I dive down the inside and make up another position. So yeah, as you can see, the cup cars and the challenge cars are so fast in a straight line. Even when I'm in the slipstream, it's very hard to stay close, which did make it challenging. So as I mentioned, the position number is based on the sort of live race replay that I watched at the same time as sort of watching back this video. So if you stick around to the end of the video, you will see a clip from the live race replay to show the final position that I ended up in before handing the car over. So this is a sprint race, the second one of the weekend. Whoa, a bit of a moment there through Arrabbiata, pushing really, really hard to try and catch this guy. Yeah, as I said before, second race of the weekend, 50-minute race, 2 drivers, we're all pushing hard there again. Yeah, 2 drivers, so we have to do 1 mandatory pit stop with a driver change in the middle. So I'm nice and close now behind this guy. I'm just trying to line up my move. I know that my best chance is probably going to be braking into turn 1, provided that I get a good exit out of this last corner here. So he does run a little bit wide, doesn't quite make it back to the apex, so I get a good run out of here. We're side by side, literally drag racing now, side by side. He is a little bit faster because he's in a challenge car, so as I said before, less downforce, less drag, so better straight line speed. So now it's just a question of who can brake later. I do brake a little bit later, but he's still there, so I don't turn in on him. I decide to sort of try around the outside here, which is a little bit risky, but it means that I'm on the inside for the next corner and get it done. So I make the overtake there, and now it's just a question of getting my head down again and focusing on the cars in front. I had no idea what position I was in at this point, to be honest. I didn't really ask that to the pit wall. It was just mainly me giving feedback on the sort of how the car was behaving, everything was okay, and occasionally complaining about driving standards of the other cars. But you can see here it's lap 8, or rather the 8th racing lap, so not counting the laps behind the safety car, and I'm up to position 12, so that's 30 positions in 8 laps, which I'm pretty proud of. I mean, you know, even though some of the cars were in a different class, it was still challenging. Obviously I would have preferred to have started further up to fight for the win, like we usually are, However, it did make a very fun race, and it ended up making quite an interesting video. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed all of that. So I have a bit of clear track now, which I'm enjoying because I can get the hammer down without having to worry about overtaking other cars. However, the whole stint I didn't have a single clear lap, because even though the second half of this lap was clear, the next lap was sort of compromised already by other cars coming out of the pits that had already made their mandatory driver change. So I just moved the wiper out of the way there. Again, you can see some cars coming out of the pit lane exit there on my right. So I passed this guy. Yeah, there's another guy just coming out there in front in the first corner. You can see that my position counter doesn't actually change because I've already passed these guys on track earlier on before they made the driver change. So that's why it doesn't change. So they've just changed to the other driver. You can, however, do the sprint race all by yourself, so all 50 minutes. But it just makes it more fun having two drivers, and I mean, in this case I was doing Pro-Am, yeah, two different drivers. You can see there I had a bit of oversteer earlier on, just pushing hard again all the way to the last lap, and I believe I do come in on this lap as well, so I'm just trying to maximize the rest of the lap, trying to get past this guy as quickly as possible, which I end up doing into this corner. Another sort of textbook overtake, just braking later, which I can do with the GT3. And at this point now, the engineer's on the radio telling me to box. So I'm just preparing for my pit lane entry and trying to have a fast in lap as well to save as much time as possible. I'm going to cut now to the live race replay at the time. As you can see there, in position 12 on the left hand side, my name, HUD, Hudspeth, and number 8 entering the pits there, as you can see. So yeah, managed to make it up to P12, which I was very happy with. Okay, entering the pit lane now, making sure to get below the maximum speed limit with the pit lane speed limiter on, loosening the belts as well, preparing for the driver change, coming to a stop, cutting the engine, clipping up the belts, releasing the steering wheel, and jumping out. Hope you guys liked the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more racing content.